rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Prayers going out to all of those who are in the path of Helene, Helene. That's what I'm going to say it is. I don't know if that's how they pronounce it or not. I tried listening to a weather forecast, and hopefully one of the people would have said it. But of course they didn't. They only talked about the fact that it's been upgraded to a hurricane. And apparently I'm being told by a couple of my rumblers who are in the area that they anticipate that she's going to grow to a Cat 4 by the time it makes landfall tomorrow. Holy smokes. Let's hope that that doesn't happen. That is a very large very large storm if that does happen. Now, of course, it's supposed to pick up some energy as it crosses the Gulf because of the fact that the Gulf is warmer than usual right now, or at least that's what I'm told. So, yeah, let's just, prayers out for all of my Whiskey Warriors and for those, otherwise, for everyone basically in the path. I checked with my brother-in-law who lives somewhere around the Tampa area. I'm not going to say where, but somewhere around the Tampa area. And he said everything's cool. Things are good for him. So, we'll see. I think this is like I don't know if this is his first or second. He's only been there for a couple of years at the most. So, yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting to watch. So prayers up for everybody that is in the path, that is near the path, that you guys don't get hit that bad. All right. Got an awful lot of stuff to get to tonight, as well as some fishiness for the pet of the week. That's a little bit of a hint. Welcome to everyone. I haven't done this in a while, so let me go through and just hit some people here, that I haven't done through the chats. So here we've got Facebook over here. I've got Mark, and yes, Mark, this is live. He always asks. I don't know why. Tommy over on Facebook, and Jazz Ann, welcome. Also, too, let's head over to Rumble. I see Buddy Weiser, 3 Chevy, Amy, Bonnie, Coco Dominky. Let's see, who else? Jarhead. Hoorah. Midwest Gunner. And I believe I saw Music Man in there earlier. Also, too, I see Nana of JJS. And there's Pops. Pops McGroin just popped in. And, of course, I can't forget my news. Let me see, who else did I miss? Did I miss anybody? I think I've got everybody here. Yeah, because I think I said Buddy, and yeah, I think I got everybody, at least from what I can tell anyway. If I missed you, I apologize. That isn't the unfortunate thing. And just because I don't see you guys very much, hello to the 4 that are watching over on X right now. Thank you for coming. I do appreciate it. X does have a chat feature, and I am able to see your chats as well and put them up on the screen now through the program that I use. So, yeah, so you guys can chat away over there on X. There is a possibility of doing it. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure how it's done. But it's definitely done because I can see it. I know I can see it. I can see them when they're there, when somebody pops in and does that. Now, just to make it clear for everyone listening, I don't always call out when I see something come through in the chats. And the reason being is because, I'll be honest with you, I've got a ton of stuff going on here. So it's really kind of difficult for me to necessarily catch up with everything, but I do try to at least grab onto ones that I see, comments and things that I see, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't always, that I at least don't see it. Oh, there's Becky. I knew Becky was coming in. That's our Australian contingent. She's checking in from the land down under. But anyway, all right, let me go ahead and get this thing started. Tonight we have on tap Ms. T of Tax for the Pledge of Allegiance. So please remove your hats if you are wearing one. Well, first of all, please stand if you are of mind, and remove your hats, and make sure to put your hand over your heart and join in with Ms. T of Tax in the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you very much for that. And of course, if you want to hear your version of the Pledge of Allegiance done here on the program, it's really very simple. All you have to do is record yourself reciting it. And once you are done with that, take that audio file, put it into an email, and send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans at AmericanPerspective.online. And of course, I'll get you into the rotation. Well, tonight is...
Down to business.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
That's right. Tonight is Whiskey Wednesday. It's like Taco Tuesday, but for badasses. And for tonight's drink of choice, I am drinking my McKenna bourbon, Kentucky bourbon, straight Kentucky bourbon. That's Henry McKenna, 10-year bottle. And it's, yeah, they actually even have the date listed here, which is pretty cool, honestly. And it's very, very good, in my opinion. It's probably one of the better ones. And I, of course, am drinking it out of the True Grit Roots Network glass tonight with the rocks in the bottom, of course. That is some good stuff right here. Oh, and of course, I've already gotten hit by Bonnie saying that it's nasty. I can't please everyone. Anyway. Whew. All right. So much for that. Well, of course, because we are on a Wednesday and I am drinking out of the True Grit Roots Network, let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about True Grit Roots Network, TGRN. You can find us at tgrn.net, where you can listen to 24/7, 365 blues on TGRN Blues right through your browser, or you can also download our app. You can also check us out in the digital catalog of digital radio stations on either Live 365, Odyssey, that's AUDACY, or the iHeart radio apps. If you have any one of those three, you can definitely listen to us there. Just search up True Grit Roots Network. And let me tell you real quickly about one of our shows, one of our fantastic on-air personalities. Pat the Mighty Quinn puts this together every single week. It is Cruisin' on the Blues Highway, which is exclusively at TGRN. Here's what Pat says about this wonderful show. I have always been a fan of the blues and blues rock, going back to the late 60s. My two older sisters introduced me to several artists and bands like Muddy Waters and Buddy Guy, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Eric Clapton, and then in the 1970s, I discovered so much more. I learned a lot from the blues greats back then. You'll hear a lot of guitar-driven artists on my show with a number of listeners, which a number of listeners have told me how much they appreciate that I feature these types of artists they can't hear or find on other stations. Blues is here to stay, I guarantee that. Now, Cruising on the Blues Highway airs 6 p.m. Central Time on Thursdays, 6 p.m. Central Time on Thursdays, and then has an encore presentation of that same show on Saturday at 4 p.m. Central Time. So go and check out Cruising on the Blues Highway with Pat Mighty Quinn on TGRN, True Grit Roots Network. That's TGRN.net, based out of Austin, Texas. All right. So, first things first, let's catch up a little bit. We've got a couple of bits of good news that are coming out of the news. So let's start off with the top of the hit. Early mail-in voting data is signaling good news for the Republicans. Now, again, keep in mind that this is not necessarily a 100% assurity, okay? But it's an indication that there are some things that are going on with early mail-in voting. Now, early mail-in voting has traditionally been a realm of the Democrats when they started doing mail-in voting outside of the absentee voting. Because keep in mind, absentee voting was traditionally the military, which the military generally tends to lean heavily toward Republicans and conservatives. But that all changed once mail-in voting started happening. And because of that, mail-in voting oftentimes leans toward Democrats. At least it has up until now. Democrats dominated mail-in voting in 2020, according to this Fox News report. But vote by mail data in 3 key states shows that the edge Democrats enjoyed in 2020 has plummeted. Something that one expert said is a great sign for Republicans and, of course, for former president, soon to be the next president, Donald Trump. Jimmy Keady, the founder and president of JLK Political Strategies, told Fox News Digital, "It's great news that Republicans are starting to early vote." The comments come as the Democratic edge by vote by mail requests has shrunk significantly in the states of Florida, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, according to data brought to you by Decision Desk HQ. Now, this is signaling a potential shift in voter habits that have defined the last 2 elections. Now, keep in mind, Georgia, the Senate race in Georgia potentially got lost to Raphael Warnock because of the fact that Donald Trump was saying, don't do mail-in voting, it's fraught with fraud. Well, he's actually changed his tune, and this year he's saying, go and vote early. Vote early. Get that vote in. Get that vote in. So if you have the opportunity, make sure you grab at least 10 people to go and vote with you. That's the Bongino strategy. We must execute. Go grab those things and bring it in. If you can, of course, because not everybody does early voting. Like, for an example, state of Washington, I haven't even gotten my ballot yet. Which isn't really a surprise because I think we usually have about a month-long period or something like that. But if you do have early voting available, please go and do it. Go and do it. Do it now. Get it over with, get it out of the way, because we need to make sure that every single vote counts. We don't want any of the shenanigans like what happened in Atlanta, with the quote, water main break, kind of thing. And, make sure that you get out and vote. Get out and vote. But this is a good sign for the Republicans and the conservatives in terms of making sure that, we get all of the votes, because I'm telling you, we have to turn out. This is a decisive and a decision time election. This is more important than any other election I think I've ever had in my entire lifetime. And I've got a story about that here in just a little bit with regards to what the left is trying to do. But there's another poll, and this one is a little less scientific and a little less, numbers based completely, but apparently it has been extremely accurate. And what am I talking about? Well, apparently there's this bakery in Ohio that claims to have correctly predicted every single election, save one since 1984. You can guess the one that did not come back correctly, which of course was in 2020. But that being said, that being stated, the prediction right now, this according to Woke Spy, Trump leads in Harris in the Ohio Bakery poll, which has correctly predicted every election except one since 1984. So this is a bakery that apparently makes cookies, and they put likenesses. You can kind of see here in this snapshot of a video. Let me see if I can zoom it in here. You can kind of see they put cookies together, and they keep track of how many get sold. So if you buy a Trump cookie, or if you buy a Kamala Harris cookie, or you go with an independent cookie, they will go and mark that all down. And this is just, it's just fantastic. But apparently this thing has not been wrong since 1984, which is a pretty damn strong track record, with the exception, of course, of 2020. Well, we all know about 2020. So the Buskin Bakery in Cincinnati, Ohio, encourages customers to purchase a cookie featuring a resemblance to their preferred candidate. Purchases can be made online or at one of Buskin's 4 Ohio stores. Now, Trump maintains about a 54% support from customers, with a little under 3,000 cookies sold, while Democrat Kamala Harris lags behind with just over 2,000 being sold at 39%. While independent candidates have received support from just under 400 potential voters at the time of this article. So the CEO, Dan Buskin, told the New York Post that our results out of our 4 retail stores kind of cover north, south, east, and west portions of Cincinnati. So they're pretty diverse. And it's an unscientific poll, of course, and it doesn't restrict customers to just one purchase, nor are voting rights enforced. Nevertheless, the bakery matches the bellwether state's consistency to vote for the country's next president, with Ohio generally siding with the winning side on all occasions since 1984. So that's some early news, early good news for Donald Trump, if you want to take it that way. Anyway, I think that's kind of cool. I wonder, they sell them online, so I'm wondering if they'll actually package them up and ship them out, because if that's the case, that would be fantastic. I want to check that out. I might want to see if I can do that. All right, so last night I was telling you about this potential port strike coming on October 1st, potentially in the next week. Okay. And how Joe Biden has already announced that he wouldn't get involved with this thing. Well, apparently Senator Bill Cassidy, who is a Republican out of Louisiana, is now calling on the Biden administration to intervene before the union dock workers are set to strike. Now, remember, like I told you last night, these negotiations with the ownership of the ports, and keep in mind, it's not all the ports in the United States, but it is a good portion of them. Okay. But that being said, we are looking at a potential slowdown, and this is going to not only impact the election potentially, but could, depending upon the length of the strike, could also end up moving into the holidays, which would not look good for the Kamala Harris campaign. Now, the whole point here is whether or not the Biden administration is going to intervene. Now, here's the thing. The Biden administration could just go ahead and stay out of it just to give a big double-barreled, not so friendly, family-friendly middle finger to the Harris campaign because of the way that he was replaced on the campaign trail. Anyway, so the work stoppage apparently could begin as soon as October 1st if the U.S. Maritime Alliance doesn't reach an agreement with the International Longshoremen's Association. And that could feature close to 25,000 dock workers walking off the job, something that could snarl supply chains and cost billions of dollars, depending upon how long it lasts. So Cassidy sent a letter. And by the way, he is the ranking member of the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions. Yeah. You know, but anyway, he's accusing Biden and Harris of being more interested in having a pro-union legacy than being pro-worker. The letter was addressed to both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who, of course, is the Democrat nominee for president. Anyway, he continues in the letter by saying strikes in the East and Gulf Coast ports will have devastating consequences for American workers. A work stoppage not only affects the 25,000 longshoremen, but also thousands of other port and freight workers who work at or move goods from ports to businesses. Now, New York, apparently, is one of those ports. And the New York Port Authority has already stated that they are preparing for a work stoppage. I heard on Wendy Bell Radio, she had mentioned that the New York Port Authority has basically said all freight will stop, but that cruise ships and those kinds of things will still continue to operate appropriately because, of course, they don't deal with the Longshoremen's Union. But anyway, as I was saying, I mean, this is potentially a big problem for the Democrat candidate and could impact the election should it be left to move forward with it. Now, one of the things, of course, that has been coming out over the course of the last couple of weeks has been all of the endorsements. I mean, you've heard hundreds, and I mean literally hundreds of swamp creatures, former and current, maybe not current, but definitely some of the signers of that letter that was dealing with the Hunter Biden laptop, calling it Russian disinformation. Several hundred other swamp creatures have all come out in support of Kamala Harris probably because of the fact that they want to save their jobs. But that being said, it's really kind of frustrating or very misleading when you have an endorsement and that endorsement essentially came from some group. And of course, you tout it as a candidate without checking into the veracity of the group. It can be a little embarrassing. Not that they really care, but here in PJ Media, there was apparently a law enforcement group that came out to back Kamala Harris. Well, here's the problem. That group didn't exist before June of 2024. Yeah. So a national law enforcement group, which is called Police Leaders for Community Safety, made their endorsement on Monday via a press release. Sue Reisling, chair of the Police Leaders for Community Safety, stated in the press release, this endorsement reflects Vice President Harris's track record and unwavering commitment to public safety and the rule of law. Bullshit. Sorry. Excuse me. There was something in my throat there. As political leaders who have led law enforcement agencies and major national law enforcement leadership groups, we know firsthand what it will take to make our communities safer. And that includes having Kamala Harris as our next president. Well, of course, the Kamala Harris folks went ahead and, jumped right on it. And believe me, I saw this, not just in this article, but all throughout X. They were all talking about it. And of course, all the sycophantic, leftist morons jumped on it as well. And they all started talking about, this law enforcement group endorses Harrison Walls, except there's only one problem. The group, apparently, after endorsing them, and of course, USA Today jumped on it too, and one other outlet jumped on it as well, and they basically said that, they've endorsed it. This group has endorsed Kamala Harris weeks after the National Fraternal Order of Police, which has been around for a very long time, by the way, and is an actual group, exists, and went and backed former President Donald Trump. That was reported in USA Today, and another outlet claimed that the group normally backs Trump, which it doesn't, because this group didn't even exist until a few months ago. Even USA Today noted on its report that the Police Leaders for Community Safety organization was created in June of 2024 as a nonpartisan 501c4 organization, and describes itself as an organization that represents dozens of police officials. Yeah. Dozens. Yeah. Founded in June. Yeah. I don't get it. Yep. Well, they all jumped on it. MS Media, mainstream media. USA Today pitched it. Even Fox News called the group a leading law enforcement group for some reason. Apparently, they do not do their background checking and digging into. That's a little bit of egg on the face right there, let me just tell you. All right. Well, as per usual, Kamala Harris, of course, is flip-flopping on something else. Now, of course, if you've been watching this program and paying attention to politics as closely as some of the rest of us, you are going, okay, what is she flip-flopping on now? Because she's pretty much flip-flopped on just about everything that she had been talking about since 2019. Well, apparently, she is now supporting ending the filibuster. When she originally, sometime in the past, said that she does not support ending the filibuster. So, God, this woman's a chameleon. That's just all she is. She just shifts wherever she feels that the wind is going to blow, and that's what she's going to support and take care of. Or at least attempt to jump onto that blowing of the wind to get more air into her sails to push her boat forward. But anyway, the thing about it is, Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas, he's a Republican, said on Tuesday, posting a letter that she signed defending the filibuster when a Republican was president, of course. He said, her word is meaningless. She'll say anything to get elected. Well, that's what Bernie Sanders said. I showed you guys the videotape. This woman is going to tell you whatever she feels is going to get her elected. And this is not what you want as a candidate. You want a candidate that's going to take a stand and stay true to whatever position policies that they choose and take. You can guarantee, for the most part, Donald Trump has been fairly steadfast in all of his positions. He hasn't really changed much from when he was president. So, yeah. Anyway, back in April 7th of 2017, Kamala Harris, who was a senator at that point, signed a letter that shows that she actually defended the filibuster. Now, for those of you that don't know what the filibuster is, keep in mind, first of all, this is a Senate-only rule. The Senate-only rule basically is as follows. In order to pass certain types of legislation, you have to have a 60-vote majority. Okay? So what that means is that 60% of the Senate has to have support on certain kinds of bills. Now, there are some carve-outs for special situations and things like that where the, quote, filibuster doesn't kick in. But it essentially means that a majority, a vast majority, or what some people would call a plurality, is needed in order to pass certain bits and pieces of legislation. Now, they're looking to get rid of the filibuster for the main purpose of attempting to pass some type of legislation that is going to enshrine abortion as a federal law. Now, of course, these people don't seem to get it, even though as I've tried many times, believe me, commenting it over and over and over, that the Dobbs decision literally stated that the abortion issue is not a matter for the federal government, that it needs to go to the states. And that's where it sits. That's where Donald Trump says it sits. That's where J.D. Vance says it sits. That's where anybody with a brain who can read and understand the Constitution. And I know it's hard. I know it's hard for you lefties. I get it. You know, because only morons vote Democrat. I understand you got, you know, it's written in some type of older English, so it's a little harder to, you know, it's not quite Shakespeare level hard to understand, but it is a little harder to understand because you actually have to like dig into it sometimes, dig into a dictionary like Noah Webster's 1828 dictionary to fully grasp the meaning of certain words that are used within it, such as well-regulated, meaning like a well-oiled clock or machine. I understand that, but for whatever reason, they seem to believe that the Constitution doesn't exist and that the 10th Amendment doesn't exist, that the 10th Amendment is just a suggestion. Well, the 10th Amendment basically states that anything that isn't clearly defined within the Constitution as a federal government responsibility, nor is it prohibited, whatever that subject piece or matter that you are interested in, item that you are interested in, specifically stated within the Constitution, okay, as prohibited to the states to deal with, it literally basically states that if it isn't in the Constitution as a specific role of the federal government, nor prohibited by the Constitution to the states, it belongs to the states and the people. Abortion doesn't exist in the Constitution. In fact, I still have yet to have anyone explain to me where general health care by itself, such as the Medicare, Medicaid, ACA, that's the Obamacare, any of those are actually mentioned in the Constitution. I would love to have somebody explain to me where in the Constitution and any of its 27 amendments where the responsibility of making sure that your individual health is taken care of is a responsibility of the federal government. Love to have somebody explain that to me. Now, again, as I've said multiple times on this program, you want to make an argument for the military? Go right ahead. Okay? Go right ahead. That one, I think an argument can be made that if you're being paid for your entire livelihood, you can go ahead and do that. Now, 3 Chevy. of course, stuff like this, I'm going to tell you, stuff like this lights off the chat at times, so on and so forth. But one of the things that this 3 Chevy points out, liberals say the pursuit of happiness is healthcare. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, unless I am wrong, that is the Declaration of Independence, not the Constitution of the United States. If it was going to show up anywhere, it would be part of the preamble, because I know it doesn't show up in the text, and I'm fairly certain. Common defense, it's promote the general welfare is what they say, and secure the blessings of liberty. So they talk about promoting the general welfare, but what they don't understand, of course, is that the preamble basically explains, hey, this is what we want to do. And then the individual things underneath it, basically are how we're going to do it. That's the way they wrote back then. They said, here's what we want to do, and here's how it's going to get done. Think of the preamble, which that's what the word preamble actually means, is introduction. Okay. And by the way, I know Buddy knows this answer. I know he does. Buddy points out, how many times does the word democracy appear in the Constitution? It doesn't. But I guarantee the word Republican does. Anyway, yeah. So again, this whole idea in terms of the filibuster and, the abortion issue and so on and so forth, all of this is indicative of the clear fact that our federal government has outgrown the boundaries to which the Constitution was supposed to keep it in. That's the problem. That is actually the source of the problem for all of our issues as of right now. Pretty much everything that we have, being overtaxed, having problems with illegals, having, all of this other stuff, are essentially all tied to the fact that the government itself has outgrown its constitutional boundaries. Now, and of course, all of it, again, like I said, my rumblers, and actually even the folks over on Facebook. Wow, all of my chats are going off on this. But anyway, I love you guys. You guys are just awesome. You're the most informed audience, I think, of all. And I would put you Whiskey Warriors up against the Dan Bongino Army, the Battle Crew, the Wendy Bell Radio Army. I mean, granted, most of you are like cross-pollinating in all of that. But yeah, I got to tell you, yeah, this is just, you guys are the most informed audience, I think, and I am so lucky to have you here for sure. For sure. And especially when I have people like, for an example, Amy over on Rumble, who is a former history teacher. Yeah, so there you go. Anyway, yeah, this is one of the reasons why I think they keep coming back as I get into these things. But anyway, Nana, of course, is sitting there with just her popcorn. Oh, sorry. Ooh, see, I told you I get corrected almost immediately if I screw things up. Amy, of course, says history/government teacher. Okay, let's go back to the show. Well, one of the not really surprising, because let's just face it, Senator Manchin is on his way out. He's not going anywhere. He's not going to be reelected. He's already dropping out. He really isn't. I mean, this is sort of a irrelevant shot in the dark. But he apparently says that he's not going to endorse Kamala Harris after she calls for the end of the filibuster. Okay. He does. I mean, granted, he doesn't say, oh, I'm going to endorse Trump. No, he just says, I'm not going to endorse Kamala Harris. Which, let's be honest, doesn't even matter. I mean, let's be serious. Manchin is not, he's, anyway. Oh, what a compliment. Whiskey warriors are informed, according to Amy G. Minor. That's awesome. Coming from a government history teacher. Anyway, all right. So one thing that does kind of should throw a little bit of, shockwaves into the left is essentially when your own people, especially those that have been around a while, okay, is because of the fact that they have experience. I know it's kind of hard for people to understand, especially the leftists that are out there, the lunatic left Democrat, Marxist, communist, socialist, experience counts here, people. This is why I've always said education does not actually equal intelligence. Okay. But the thing about it is that a lot of people don't seem to understand is that experience is one of the best teachers. There's a reason for that. So, that being said, James Carville, who is a big name on the left. He is a big, big name. He like orchestrated the whole Clinton era selections and elections and so on and so forth. Well, James Carville, according to the Populous Times, says that he predicts there's a plot twist coming before the November election. Now, I seem to recall back in 2020, there was a plot twist that popped in October. Now, keep in mind, everybody always says there's the October surprise that is, always comes out. And I seem to recall the 2020 October surprise was the Hunter Biden laptop that everybody dismissed as Russian disinformation that actually turned out to be exactly 100% correct, and that the information contained within the laptop was correct and accurate. Okay? But all of that being said, James Carville basically says, I don't know what it is, but I can feel it coming. He has no idea what it is. And in fact, he even points to the fact that this entire cycle, things have already happened that we couldn't imagine. And this is what Carville told CNN's Anderson Cooper on Monday. He said, also, how many times did we start the day, start the news night? Who could have thought this was going to happen? Something tells me something else is going to happen. I don't know what it is. Well, yeah, I'm going to tell you right now that we have no idea what it's going to be. I mean, this election cycle, I've told you multiple times, this election cycle is unlike any other. We've had the Democrat nominee who was voted in by 14 million votes, summarily booted out by a cabal of Democrat elites, and an installation, not election, but an installation of his replacement on the ticket, which is completely irregular altogether. And so we've got around 41 days, I think, left, 40 to 41 days left. Anything can happen, people. Anything can happen. So no matter what happens, as far as that goes, keep your heads down, keep your eye on the prize, and get those folks out to vote. Get everybody out to vote, as many as you possibly can, and get these folks out to vote. Out to vote. Speaking of voting, you remember that story that I told you about with Fulton County getting a letter of admonishment from the election board, state election board in Georgia, because they ran 3,000 ballots twice through the machines? And then later on in 2022, they were also found to having failed to count failed to count almost, or well, a little over 1,300 votes during 2022's primary. And that's according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Well, there's some disturbing news here in the Federalist. Officials warn Fulton County's monitoring team isn't enough to fix the election failures. That's right. Some state and county officials told the Federalist that they're skeptical about the county's electoral integrity, even with the monitoring team. So Fulton County, Georgia, after, of course, those two incidences that I told you about that were caught, they caught them. Georgia approved a monitoring team to oversee its elections after the state found the county violated election laws in 2020 and, like I said, failed to count over 1,300 ballots in 2022. But some state and county officials told the Federalist they're skeptical about the county's electoral integrity, even with that monitoring team. So basically, as a result of the finding in May, which I told you about, the board ruled 2-1 to issue a letter of reprimand to Fulton County and enter a memorandum of understanding between Fulton County, the Office of the Secretary of State, the State Election Board, outlining a mutually agreeable monitor for the 2024 election cycle by the next hearing. However, should an agreeable monitor not be reached by the next scheduled board meeting, a motion will be presented to refer the case to the Attorney General's office. Now, that was noted in the minutes. Okay. But anyway, yeah. So the monitoring team, and this was the Fulton County Commission, voted 5-2 to approve a contract, which is in the sum of just under $100K, for an election monitoring team on September 4th, as Commissioner Bridget Thorne confirmed. Thorne and Bob Ellis voted against the proposal. That's interesting. The approved proposal states that the goal of the monitoring team involves providing systematic, comprehensive, and accurate gathering of information regarding Fulton County's administration of the 2024 election. Now, one of the objectives of the program, as outlined in the proposal, is to provide process and compliance-oriented monitoring, including quality assurance processes and of all aspects of election administration in Fulton County, including things like security and chain of custody procedures, poll worker training, ballot proofing, and logic and accuracy testing, among other things. So, anyway, the proposal also indicates that the monitoring team understands it has no supervisory authority and it will not instruct Fulton County personnel to do or not do a certain action. So in other words, they're just going to sit there and pay attention. That's it. They're just going to look and report back. So nothing is going to be corrected right then and there. I kind of see where these people might be a little hesitant to believe that this monitoring team is going to actually do anything in order to correct the issues that Fulton County obviously, and by the way, Fulton County, I believe, is one of the biggest counties. I believe it covers all of Atlanta, if I remember correctly. Somebody could check that for me. But anyway, the point being here is, yeah, I don't believe in this monitoring team either, because if all they're supposed to do is watch and report and not actually correct or do corrective actions right then and there on the spot, yeah, I don't think that that's going to really do anything. So I tend to agree with them. All right. So let me take a break before I get into the next article. Let me go ahead and tell you about this wonderful, wonderful, patriotic, and veteran-owned and run organization known as The Flag Shirt. TheFlagShirt.com is the website. Let me tell you, you see these wonderful shirts I'm wearing. Right now I'm wearing the We the People cotton polo shirt. I love the polos. I love the cotton polos that they put out. They are just fantastic. They're just great patriotic. They've got patriotic colors. I know the color looks a little off on the screen. It's not that black. It's actually more of like a dark blue. But still, what I need you to do is, I've been correct. I have been confirmed. Fulton County is Atlanta. Thank you, 3 Chevy. Hey, US Abby girl, get that guy at the station, get him to watch. Come on. He can watch with us and he can spread the word too. Come on. That's what you need to do. For those on the audio portion of the program, US Abby girl on Rumble said, just at the gas station, gentleman next to me could hear the stream, told me I was a smart lady. He, of course, is a Trump supporter. Sadly, his brother is not. How many times do we run across that? Anyway, where was I? Oh, I was talking about theflagshirt.com. Let me tell you, these guys have some great patriotic styles. You've got to go and check them out. Theflagshirt.com. Okay. Theflagshirt.com is the website to go and check out all of their patriotic styles. They've got men's, women's, kids, accessories. They've got all kinds of stuff. They've got hoodies and pullovers that are in the USA colors, red, white, and blue for everybody at theflagshirt.com. And if you order $75 worth of their product, they will give you free shipping. But I know everybody doesn't want to order $75 at a time. I know in this economy with Bidenomics and Harrisnomics and all these other things that she wants to do, you know, money is very tight. So here's what I'm going to do for you. If you want to order something from theflagshirt.com, you need to go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's right, flagshirt.americanperspective.online. And if you go there, you will get a coupon code that you copy and paste into the promo box at checkout at theflagshirt.com, and you'll get $5 off your order. That's right. Go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, get that promo code, put it in the promo code box at theflagshirt.com at checkout, and you will get $5 off your order. Just my way to kind of help you get a little extra during this tight economy. Once again, go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All right. So, Jamie Raskin, look, I know the guy went through cancer. I know he had some, health issues. I believe it was cancer and that kind of stuff. But I got to tell you, he ranks as one of the dumbest people in Congress. How the hell did we get the dumb-ass members of Congress that we have today in America is completely beyond me. But, yeah, anyway, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Well, anyway, this article in the Daily Fetched popped, and let me tell you, I mean, now granted, Jamie Raskin is not quite on the level of AOC. All right. There are people who are dumber than Jamie Raskin in Congress. I mean, I talked about AOC last night, where even Chris Cuomo, who isn't exactly the sharpest knife in the drawer, corrected her on her issues. But this came out, and I got to tell you, it just, Jamie Raskin reveals disturbing plot to limit Trump's power if elected president. Yeah. Wonder how he's going to do that. Because again, for anyone that knows this show, all you have to do is read the freaking Constitution, right? Anyway, read the Constitution and you'll be able to figure out that Congress doesn't have this kind of power. I have no idea. What the hell is going through this guy's mind. But of course, Democrat establishment players like Raskin are scrambling to find ways to prevent Trump from using his power should he win the 2024 election in this November. He needs to win in this election in 2024. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Raskin is now conspiring with Representative Joe Walsh, who is a Republican in Illinois. He's a rhino, apparently, and a quote unquote bipartisan coalition in a push to get lawmakers to sign on to what is called a No Dictators Declaration, which aims to rein in the powers of the Oval Office, specifically following the Supreme Court's decision on the immunity case. Okay. The immunity case, folks, I'm just telling you this right now. These people are gaslighting the shit out of America. The immunity case only enshrined in words, okay? Only enshrined in words what everybody already understood throughout history. To sum it up really quickly, it basically said that for presidential actions, things that are specifically the president's purview alone, and that's official actions, okay, is that he or she has immunity. So for an example, if you decide to send a drone attack and oops, you accidentally hit an American citizen, you're immune from prosecution. How simple can that be? By the way, that was either Biden or Obama. I can't remember which, but one of the two. Okay? Now, if the president does something that is not an official act, well, guess what? He is open to prosecution. He or she is open to prosecution. There is a section where there is a bit of a gray area that can be determined by the courts. And thank you, definitely not Karen, for making sure to tell me and keep me on point. That was Obama that did that drone strike. But the point here is that anyone with a brain and has at least two brain cells that can rub together to have a thought and knows the Constitution, or at least has a vague understanding of the Constitution, is fully aware of the fact that the Supreme Court hasn't really changed anything with that immunity decision. All they did is they basically said, well, shit, you guys are going to force us into saying it, so here you go. They haven't changed anything. That's what it's supposed to be, okay? But that being said, the Democrats seem to believe, for whatever reason, that this now all of a sudden gives President Trump complete and unbridled power when he gets into office. They fail to realize is if that complete and unbridled power applied to Donald Trump when he's not in office, should he attain the office, that also applies to Joe Biden right now. Telling you, these people are the dumbest morons on the planet. Only morons vote Democrat, okay? Can't say it enough. But here's the other problem that Raskin has. He basically says it's up to Congress, the representative branch of the people, to defend the constitutional order against presidents who would trample the freedoms of the people. Okay, this is the whole point of all this. Now, he is saying this declaration is about protecting freedoms of the people by closing statutory loopholes that could allow a president to exploit the executive power to trample constitutional freedom and liberty. What the hell do you think Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are already freaking doing? What do you think? What do you think? They're already trampling on constitutional freedom. They're already trampling on liberty. They plan to do it again if Kamala Harris gets back into office. These people, I'm telling you, they are complete morons. Well, anyway, so the here's the freaking 5-point plan, okay? And this is according to Jamie Raskin, again, one of the dumbest members of Congress, although not the dumbest, but one of the dumbest. So this plan has got 5 main pillars to it, okay? And this is the meat of everything right here. So it's got 5 main pillars to it. 1 is limiting the president's power to declare bogus domestic and foreign emergencies to seize power and bypass congressional authority. You guys put in the Posse Comitatus Act and the Insurrection Act, which blocks him from doing so anyway. Because as a part of the Insurrection Act, or as a part of the Posse Comitatus Act, the local civilian authority asking and requesting for assistance has to approve it. I've covered this already in the program. This is why you can't get National Guard assistance until the governor calls them in cases of emergency. There are certain steps that have to be taken and approved before the president can actually deploy troops on American soil. Again, he's an idiot. 2, this is point number 2, restricting the president's ability to use the Insurrection Act to deploy the military domestically against the people. Just covered that. Frickin' God. Point number 3, preventing the adoption of partisan, personal, and ideological loyalty tests, loyalty oaths, and similar authoritarian measures designed to purge the professional civil service and replace qualified workers with unqualified party loyalists and sycophants. Folks, if you're working in the federal government under the president is basically the CEO. As the CEO, okay, he and or she can fire anybody that they want, although the federal unions have tried to prevent this from happening. But in order to clear out the bureaucracy, the president is going to have to get rid of those quote unquote qualified workers, professional civil service workers, because of the fact that as of right now, our bureaucracy, and this is part of the overgrowth of the Constitution, the bureaucracy is running the government right now. This is why you cannot have these bureaucrats, long-term 40-year bureaucrats, running the federal government. They are unelected. They are not beholden to the people, and this moron wants to make it permanent. Now, 4, ensuring that presidents who abuse their powers to commit crimes can be prosecuted like all other citizens. Hello, I just explained this to you, Lucy. You're not listening. They can be, if they're doing something outside of what the Constitution says they are allowed to do. Okay? To be clear, the president is the executive branch. The president is the one responsible for executing the laws to which Congress has written. They are called co-equal branches for a reason. There is a separation of powers for a reason. Anyone who has any semblance of civics education understands this. Okay? It doesn't take a genius to understand the way, I mean, shit, they put it in freaking comic book characters, cartoon caricatures, and ran it as Schoolhouse Rock on the television that explained to you how our government works. Don't you remember the, I'm just a bill, yes, I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. You remember that? I mean, seriously, people, this is not difficult. This is really not that hard. Anybody with like a 5th grade or 4th grade education should be able to understand all of this. Okay. Now, number 5, of course, and here's the thing. He also put, and this is something that the left, before I move on to point 5, this is something that the left has been continually harping on, is the fact that no one is above the law in America. And those who aspire and attain public office are nothing but servants of the people. I hate to tell you this, Jamie. However, there is a group of people who are above the law. Wait, what? Did I hear you right, Rick? Did you just say there's a group of people above the law? Yeah, there is. There's a group of people above the law right now, constitutionally above the law. It's called Congress. When Congress is in session and they are doing their duties, they are technically above the law. They cannot be arrested for execution of their duties. Guess what? That follows then that these same conditions are then placed upon the office of the president. Again, not all that hard, logically speaking, to understand this. Now, if you really want to talk about people getting prosecuted, let's just start talking about, I don't know, the Hillary with the Benghazi thing. Let's talk about Obama, like I just said, about that drone strike. Let's talk about Joe Biden with all of his pay, influence peddling and all that other stuff. Let's talk about Hunter Biden with all of his FARA Act violations. You seem to forget, Jamie, okay? You seem to forget that there are several people who are, at least as of right now, because the Department of Justice hasn't bothered to go after them, okay? Has bothered to go after them. The Department of Justice is the one that seems to be making the decisions as to whether somebody is above the law or not. Now, as far as the rest of the whole point with the nobody being above the law, well, you're right. They shouldn't. But that's why the federal government, why the Constitution writers put in the whole thing about impeachment for literally high crimes and misdemeanors. Okay? This is exactly why there are certain things put into place that are designed to remove somebody from office. And once they are removed from office, then you can go after them criminally. Because unless you have forgotten, after somebody is impeached, you can hand over the stuff to the Department of Justice, the evidence that you have, and put that in front of them, in front of the Department of Justice, which, by the way, the Department of Justice is supposed to be an independent organization. It's not very independent. I'll be honest with you, it hasn't been for the last 10 years, at least. Anyway, so Raskin finished off his 5-point plan with this: constraining the president's ability to use investigative and prosecutorial decisions and resources to pursue personal political vendettas against disfavored groups and perceived enemies of the president. Hey, Jamie McFly, dumbass, Biden is doing that right now. The FBI is doing that right freaking now by going after Catholics and going after pro-life groups and going after people who they deem to be domestic violent extremists, like the MAGA people who attended January 6th. They're so goddamn freaking, they're worthless. These people are worthless. We need to get rid of them. We need to get them out. None of this anyway, by the way, is even constitutional. The entire thing is unconstitutional because it is clear, 100% clear, that anything that the president has within the Constitution, any executive branch item that they are supposed to be doing is exclusive to the executive branch. Congress can't tell the president how to do the job. There are certain things that the president must get congressional approval for, but he cannot, or Congress cannot tell the president how to do their job, any more so than the president could tell Congress how to do their job. See, this is the problem with having a lack of civics education in this country. This is the problem with having a lack of civics knowledge and understanding of the Constitution, the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist Papers. Folks, it's all there for you to read. Anyone can go and find it. You can find it online. You can find all of this information online if you just bother to do your freaking research. That's all you have to do. And yes, Jarhead, it is a violation of the separation of powers. It's not going to be constitutional anyway. I guarantee you the president will sue Congress the minute this thing even gets voted on. He'll sue Congress, and the judicial branch ideally would go ahead and strike it down completely, the way they should. This guy, yeah, this guy is just, he's a complete moron. He's a complete idiot. Oh, Becky, don't use Google though. No, you're right. Don't. At least not, Brave. I'm telling you, Brave search. That's the way to go. Anyway, they, yeah. The Democrats, I mean, all this is just an admission of complete 100% utter desire to completely control our government and move into a theme of totalitarianism. That's literally all this is. They want to be able to control the government, control the people, control you by telling you what you can do, how you can do it, so on and so forth. That is all they're after. They want unbridled power. And what Trump does is Trump stands in their way and says, yeah, I can't be bought. He obviously can't be, pushed into other things, for an example, because obviously they've only been able to get him on, quote unquote, get him on a couple of things which aren't going to last. So he obviously is not touched by them. So that's, like he said, they're after you. I'm just in their way. Anyway. Oh, boy. Okay, well, trust me, Bonnie, Landon will get a pet of the week, all right? He probably just perked up his ears because I said his name. Landon. There you go. Probably just got him to bark too. I don't know, Bonnie. Well, Bonnie will probably respond to it here in a second because, of course, the video is on a delay. It's on a bit of a delay. But anyway, all right. Couple more articles left over here. One being Oregon. So I mentioned this a while ago. Yeah. He looked at the TV. Apparently, Landon looked at the TV. All right. Oregon a while ago apparently did a look on their voter rolls to try and find folks that were not citizens that were registered to vote. And originally they reported they only had like 300 people. Okay. Well, Newsmax, here we go. Newsmax basically said that they've found and removed over 1,200 now of voters for failing to provide a U.S. citizenship. Now, here's the thing. What a lot of people don't seem to understand with this is that, it's only 1,200. Okay, it's 1,200 in Oregon. Over 100,000 in Pennsylvania. It's over 1 million in Texas. That adds up, people. That adds up. And especially because of the fact that you look at things like popular votes, and even more so than just the presidential candidates, you also have candidates for Senate, which are potentially much tighter margins, especially in smaller states. You also have things like local races in terms of Congress, congressional races, but you also have local races like governor and some of these other ones. This is how it works, folks. It doesn't have to be on a massive scale in any one particular state. All it has to do is add up to something when you start adding in all 50 states. Now, keep in mind, too, as Definitely Not Karen over on Rumble points out, that's just what they found, or what they're admitting to finding. See, the thing about this kind of stuff is that these are things that shouldn't have even gotten there in the first place. If you put a gate up in front of your property, but don't bother to build the rest of the fence to keep people out, you're not going to do anything. I love the picture and the meme that you see where they have a sidewalk, they have the gate, but then there's no fence on either side and there's grass on either side of it, where all somebody has to do is step off the sidewalk, go into the grass, and go around the gate. That's literally what's happening here with these people. The gate represents a checkbox that basically says, I certify under penalty of perjury, blah, 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 blah. That gate doesn't do anything if there's no further fence that prevents people from coming in. It's basically a suggestion. It's not an actual restriction. Anyway. Okay. So, yeah, it's definitely not Karen. Like the toll booth on Blazing Saddles. Exactly. Oh, Blazing Saddles. That's a movie that'll never, ever be remade. Not that I would want them to. But anyway, most millennials wouldn't even know what you were talking about. Okay, so let's see. last couple ones really here. First of all, I've been talking a lot about the 3 theaters of operation should World War III break out. You have the Middle East, which is heating up right now, especially in Lebanon and Israel. You have the area in Eastern Europe, which is the Ukraine-Russia conflict that's going on right now. And you have the impending, and I still say it's probably going to happen, but impending Chinese takeover of Taiwan. Now, that's not assuring that it's going to happen, just telling you that right now. But it is disconcerting to see China's increasing activity over in, to us, what would be the East and South Pacific. Or the West Pacific. I'm not exactly sure how that works. But still, over in the Pacific, over on that side of the world. And especially where they've been advancing on places such as the Philippines. And they've been making movements and increasing their military spending by a lot. Don't even know what kind of a factor it is. But just the fact that they've been building and increasing their holdings and trying to claim territory that they've never claimed before in like the South China Sea is just indicative of the fact that we may be looking at going to war with China. Now, this piece, which I highly encourage you to take a look at, all of my pieces that I show you, or the vast majority, I should say, are in the descriptions of the video, whether it's on Rumble, preferred outlet, or YouTube, or Facebook, or even X. They're all there. But this in particular is saying, under weak Democrat leadership, the U.S. is unprepared for the looming war with China. Well, no kidding. I mean, we had one of their balloons that went all the way across the United States, taking photos and hanging out above military and nuclear installations for several times. But anyway, they've increased their presence over there. They've been pushing and doing things like joint operations in the Bering Strait with Russia, by the way. And now the Biden-Harris administration has hamstrung the U.S. military, even as China's Army, Navy, and Air Force are on the rise. So this article points out the Commission on the National Defense Strategy recently released a report warning that the United States faces the most severe and pressing defense challenges since 1945. For those of you who may not be a historian, 1945 was the end of World War II. This report not only emphasizes the potential for a near-term major war, but also underscores the urgent need for action, making the gravity of the situation clear. The Commission, having meticulously reviewed both public and classified information, has identified China and Russia as major adversaries seeking to undermine the United States' global influence. However, the Commission's greatest concerns lie with China. Its report reveals that, quote, in many ways, China is outpacing the United States and has largely negated the U.S. military advantage in the Western Pacific through 2 decades of focused military investment, which itself is a cause for grave concern. The Commission is estimating that China spends about $71 billion annually on defense, although some experts estimate it to be around, 711, so 711 billion. Although some experts estimate it to be even lower than that at 474 billion. I don't care. Billion's a big number. The wide range of estimates for China's defense spending is due to the fact that the communist regime's notorious practice of hiding It's the actual scope of its defense spending from its published government annual budget. Some speculate that Beijing might have underreported its past defense spending by as much as 40%. However, one thing is clear, that China's yearly defense spending is climbing steadily upward, which poses a serious threat to the United States and its allies, as it allows China to further develop its military capabilities and potentially challenge the current global order. All right. I have told you multiple times on this program that if China takes Taiwan, let me say that again, all of our electronics and chipset manufacturing is gone. Okay? Gone. Just about every single electronic device, anything that has any kind of electronics within it, whether it's be cars, cell phones, TVs, laptops, they all have 90%, okay? 90% chance that they have some type of technology from Taiwan in them. Okay? This is why Taiwan is of strategic importance to us. It is strategic importance because also, too, many of our military systems have Taiwanese chips in them. This is dangerous, folks. This is really dangerous. And we are not focused on what China is doing at all. Our government is in shambles. They are absolutely horrible. They have no idea what's coming and how much of an impact it's going to make. At least the ones that know are trying to tell, and they're not listening. All right, real quick, just because it happens to be tied to the pet of the week, there was a new study in Newsmax that finds that dog and human brains actually sync up. Wait, what? According to researchers, ironically in China, this is part of the reason why I tied the two together, have conducted a first ever experiment that shows that our brains will actually synchronize with dogs' brains. And that is suggesting a deep neurological level of bonding. According to Science Alert, scientists placed electrodes on the heads of both human and canine study participants, which in this case were beagle pups, and had them interact in various ways. Using cutting-edge non-invasive technology called dual EEG to measure brain activity in simultaneously both dogs and humans, the scientists discovered that certain areas of the brain synchronized when the subjects were engaging in bonding behaviors such as petting or staring into each other's eyes. Petting introduced higher interbrain activity in the parietal region of the brain, reported the researchers, while gazing triggered higher brain activity in the frontal regions of the brain. So, that whole connection between man and dog, it apparently has some physiological signs to it as well. All right, let's go ahead and get on with this week's Pet of the Week. All right. Tonight we have, now, first of all, I'm just going to tell you right now, okay, I have a high level of respect for people who put a huge investment on something that, something that is as intricate as what you are about to see. Now, anybody who has been a part of this program knows that 3 Chevy puts a lot of work and effort into his koi pond. Now, koi, K-O-I, is a form of fish. They kind of look like goldfish in a way, but they're much bigger. Okay. But the thing about it is that he's made this like a backyard oasis. I'm just telling you right now. So much props to 3 Chevy, but let's go and take a look at what he's got going on in this latest video that he decided to send us. So here we go. And by the way, it looks like it's feeding time, and so now they're having a feeding frenzy. So he's got this waterfall in the back. I'm kind of narrating here for those folks that are on the audio portion of the program, but apparently there's a feeding frenzy going on within the video here. And this basically what he said when he sent this in is essentially, hey, Whiskey, here's some more videos of my koi. They get quite excited when it's feeding time. They have their own koi food, but they also like berries from the fire bush. I don't even know what a fire bush is, but from the fire bush next to the pond, as well as seeds from the magnolia trees, which are dropping now. And then he continues and says, as always, thanks for all you do, 3 Chevy. Now, I'm just telling you, much props. There's no way that I would be able to, one, be constructive enough to go ahead and build something like this. I mean, the guy's got, you can look at the video. You can see the still shot right behind me. He's got appropriate foliage and, fauna in the area. He's got it all decked out with rocks. He's got this pond, and then he's got the waterfall at the back, and it comes out. I mean, it's just absolutely wonderful. And I know that it's taken him a little bit of time for doing this, but wow. Yeah, this is just, he's also shown us, for those of you that don't know, he's also shown us some frogs that have taken, or toads, I'm not sure which, that have taken up residence in the area as well. And he's got some decorations like, obviously some, looks like a flamingo-like, but not a flamingo. I'm not quite sure what it is. A bird, a statue in there, but yeah, great. Much props. I'm just going to tell you, this is just, this would be kind of like a backyard oasis. If I were to come and visit, that would be something that would, that would be something that I would love to go and see. I mean, yeah, I could just sit next to the pond, drink some whiskey, maybe smoke a cigar, and enjoy the waterfall just by itself. Anyway, that is tonight's Pet of the Week. Thank you very much, 3 Chevy, for sharing that with us. That is fantastic. We always love to see the new stuff that you are doing with that. All right, folks, that is the end of the program. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, my preferred outlet for videos. Go to rumble.com, sign up for an account. It is free. And once you are there and signed in, search up the American Perspective channel. Make sure that you hit that green follow button so you can be notified of when I go live. Also, too, before you take off, make sure that you give me those thumbs up across the board, across all of my outlets, because that helps to expose this video, these videos that I make, to more of an audience, and I would love to grow. One last thing I need to do. Good night, Landon. Good night, boy. Have a good evening. Anyway, we'll see you all tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening. Prayers to all of those in Helena's path. I know that she makes landfall tomorrow morning, and so hopefully everyone is safe. We'll see you all tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.